Welcome to Riks Europe and this week's Riks Roundup. I am joined by panelist Peter Kleppe, editor-in-chief of Riks Europe, and Scarlett Karoleva, host and reporter for Riks Europe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
So it's time for this week's Riks Roundup, and we have a few things to talk about. But to start off with, you guys have had quite a hectic and eventful last few days in Brussels. With the Nat Con conference, and there's been lots of headlines around this. Scarlett, I'll start with you. Can you tell the viewers what is the Nat Con conference and a little bit about what happened?
So Nat Con stands for National Conservatism. It's a conference where several type of speakers are invited to share some thoughts about, well, mostly about the importance of sovereignty for nation states. Some of the speakers that were invited this year were Riks Europe, Viktor Orban. We even had Nigel Farage coming to speak. And what we saw is that apparently, because it's deemed as extreme right, people didn't want this conference to take place. So there was put a lot of political pressure from several politicians, specifically the mayors of Brussels, to actually cancel this event. And even went up so far that the police entered the conference while Nigel Farage was on stage giving his speech. I think it really shows that where there's not a lot of space for freedom of speech.
And Peter, Riks Europe showed some footage on YouTube in form of a short that I believe was from you, where you actually see police blocking the entrance. Could you tell us more about this footage? What is it actually showing?
Well, the police were preventing people from coming into the conference, but ultimately they did not try to get everybody that was inside of the conference out. Fundamentally, this is, it's very problematic. So what happened is that the organizers, they had to look for ultimately 3 different venues. The first venue cancelled the event after they were pressured by the socialist mayor of Brussels City. The second venue cancelled the event, that was the Sofitel hotel, after they were pressured by the liberal mayor, the supposedly liberal mayor of another Brussels municipality called Etterbeek. So then they moved to a third venue called Claridge, which is owned by a Tunisian family business. Very nice people, very courageous, and they said, no, we believe in freedom of speech. This event is going to take place, and that's very courageous because this, event also is hosting many, activities organized by the municipality of Saint-Jos, which is another Brussels municipality. Now, the mayor of that municipality, Mr. Emir Kier, he decided to outright impose a ban on the conference. And, the excuse he used was that, look, there will be counter-protesters, so I can no longer guarantee the safety. And then in passing, on Twitter, he also mentioned that he was very happy that a quote-unquote far-right conference was banned. Now, you have to know that far-right conference also hosted not only one of the 27 EU leaders, Mr. Orban, but the former interior minister of the United Kingdom, Suella Braverman. So I think with far-right people have some association of a bunch of neo-Nazis. So I don't think that was the case, to be fair. Now, thankfully, the top administrative court in Belgium overruled the mayor. They said, look, you cannot use the fact that there are counter-protesters as an excuse to shut down a conference. Your job is to, crack down on any counter-protesters if they're violent and protect the conference, not ban the conference. So I think that was, after all, a great victory for freedom of speech.
So it's clear that there's been a lot of resistance towards this particular conference. Scarlett, could you tell us a little bit about the reactions, especially from the high-profile politicians that were planned to take place in this event? What have they been saying?
Well, it's almost seen as a gift from the left because, as Nigel Farage put it, it's a goal in their own goal because it shows that in a democracy, even if you don't agree with one another, there should be freedom of expression of your political views, the way you see the world. the fact that we were being silenced, the fact that we were not allowed to share certain ideas in a very peaceful manner really sparked an outrage. And it was picked up on not only attendees of the conferences, we had the Prime Minister of Belgium saying that it was actually unconstitutional. We had the President of the Prime Minister of the UK, who also condemned the fact that they tried to ban the event. And overall, the majority of the consensus was that there's a lot of gratefulness towards Mr. Ben, who is actually the owner of the venue. They It went so far that they didn't just put political pressure on him, saying that if you let Nat Con take place within your own venue, we'll put you out of business. No, they actually even threatened his wife. They made it personal. So the fact that he, as a Muslim family, welcomed us in, where there was, for example, an Eric Zemmour who was sharing some thoughts that were not necessarily very kind towards Muslim, and he's of Muslim family. And he still said, but maybe I do not agree with you, but I think we need to have a debate with one another. It's very courageous.
And Peter, what does this tell the European people? The fact that, I mean, they say that it's there's a risk to safety as a sort of a reason to ban this conference. But what does it say to the European people in terms of a threat towards freedom of expression, freedom of speech?
Well, I think it shows that many people are not comfortable with this. After the Belgian Prime Minister, as Scarlett said, supported the court decision to, let the conference take place, there was a Belgian minister, the climate minister, Zakia Katabi, who said on Twitter that she disagreed with the prime minister. So this is crazy. I mean, it's not just that she wants clearly that she wants a conference to be outlawed when the conference is not in agreement with her ideology, but she does not even accept a court decision. So this is outright anti-democratic, and sadly, these kind of episodes reveal that many politicians think like that.
Scarlett, how would you say that mainstream media has been covering the news surrounding this event?
Unfortunately, exactly as how we would expect it. Yesterday, Politico published an article that said, I lived the Hell's Kitchen of the far right and I lived the Tell. And it was basically a whole article dedicated about bashing the food that was being served. She showed a picture. It was a plate with mashed potatoes, some chicken, and a carrot. Apparently, that's very revolutionary. And all she could write about is how bad the food was. Now, mind you, not only was the venue cancelled twice, also the catering cancelled on the day itself of the event because they were having political pressure and they didn't want to deliver anymore. So the family that owned the venue, they themselves gathered some food by local entrepreneurs that were working in that area, and they got us amazing food, which is not even relevant. Because why would you focus on food when the whole topic should be the loss of freedom of speech?
So, Peter, what does that tell us? The comedy surrounding the fact that she could only focus on food in this, when she's criticizing this conference.
Well, I don't think it reflects very highly on Politico as a magazine. Of course, this was meant to be, I think, some kind of a lighter topic, but frankly, I also disagree. I thought the food was fine. I mean, it's not the best food I ever had, but as Scarlett said, I mean, the catering, they were, they were, faced with severe challenges because of the ban. They couldn't easily get, things in. They had to rewash the glasses, they told me. And in the first place, I think the food was fine, frankly. So, it does not reflect very well on Politico.
And I think it's important to notice as well, it's also about supporting small entrepreneurs because before that we had some very luxurious venues booked. But this way you can actually help the small, medium entrepreneurs. And those are the ones that are actually driving the economy. So also I want to say my compliments to the organization for fixing the issue so well and still supporting the local community.
And Scarlett, what was your overall experience of this conference when it finally was able to take place?
There were many ideas that I think it's good that in a society, you not have only the right to share your ideas, but also to listen. So there were a lot of speeches, and I didn't necessarily agree with everything that was said, but I think it's super important that these events are being allowed to be held for people to come together and share their ideas. It's a crucial cornerstone of a democracy.
And the fact that there was so much resistance towards it and the event finally took place, Peter, it was peaceful, correct? Or is there anything that should indicate that there was any sense in wanting to stop this conference from taking place?
You know, everything was very peaceful. Obviously, in the first place, everybody, every participant there was very calm. There was not any sign of aggression, not even in the language. The kind of, the kind of response that we could see by the organizers was very civil. Even the counter-protesters, I didn't see them like live, but I saw some pictures, and this was like a small group of like 100 people. They were just standing there, so the whole thing was basically fine. And it's just unacceptable that you have a mayor trying to ban it. And you know what? In Belgium, if a mayor abuses its power, if a mayor uses the police as his private militia to outlaw conference he doesn't like, this is punishable by up to 1 year of prison sentence. Perhaps we see more of it. I've heard that some complaint will be filed against him. Of course, it's going to be very unlikely that the prosecutor will actually jail him or ask to jail him, I think. But in theory, it's possible. Yeah.
Thank you guys for your comments on that. We can move on to our second topic for this roundup. Controversial von der Leyen appointment fails, weakening her chances of a second term. Peter, can you summarize what this is about?
Yeah, so Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, she had appointed a party member of her political party, MEP Markus Pieper, a German MEP, to become SME envoy, so envoy for small and medium-sized enterprises. Now, in the first place, you can wonder, do we need another, EU job that will be paid 70,000 euro per month? And that taxpayers will have to foot. But then the appointment process was very shady. There were two female MEPs that were, when you look at the criteria, ranked more highly. And nevertheless, von der Leyen appointed Mr. Pieper. Then also, while she was confronted with criticism, she completely ignored it. She reacted in an incredibly, arrogant manner. But ultimately, because there was so much protest, there were even 4 fellow European commissioners that wrote a letter asking von der Leyen for clarification. She had to back down, and Mr. Pieper, was not appointed.
And this was because he was affiliated with the same political party as Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, correct? So this was the main reason for the criticism, Scarlett?
That's true. The comment is that they are trying to make the Commission very EPP focused. I would also like to elaborate on what Peter said. Indeed, there were 2 other female MEPs that in their assessment scored over 30% higher than Mr. Pieper. And this is very funny because the thing is that Ursula von der Leyen actually promised to really focus on more gender equality, having more equal presentations with other nations. One of the ladies was from the Czech Republic, another was from Sweden, actually. And they were very underrepresented in the commission. And the problem is that even though we know, according to several sources, that these ladies scored higher in the assessments, we don't know why she still chose Piper. There's no transparency on the selection process. And this is where a lot of the criticism comes from. Then it makes you wonder, because 3 weeks after she appointed Pieper to be the envoy for the small medium enterprises, she got endorsed by her party as she needed that to secure a second term. So now she's also being investigated for actually serving her own interests.
And what are the accusations other than that that were made towards the appointment process of Markus Pieper, Peter?
Well, on paper, it was mostly this, this criteria issue, but you have to know that there's a number of other issues. There's a criminal investigation now taking place on, whether she deleted some private, I think it was WhatsApp messages, in order to conceal some, aspects of the negotiation with Pfizer over a very big vaccine contract. So maybe she did not do anything wrong, but it looks like she deleted certain messages that would shed some light on the situation. And because of this, there were articles claiming that her chances of a second term are now much lower than they used to be. One diplomat was saying that, look, she's way too arrogant, and this relatively small stuff is now really, coming to haunt her. So far, she is supported by the German government, and the French government. Mr. Macron, the president of France, is expected to also support her. So maybe this is only Macron trying to, extract some more concessions by raising doubt about his support for von der Leyen. But yeah, I do think that she has a certain kind of arrogance. She's very rarely speaking to the media also. Yeah, that ultimately creates a lot of opposition, and rightly so.
And Scarlett, with the elections coming up, how important is the transparency to work in their favor?
Oh, it's super important. It's everything. I mean, this is a woman that has both Pfizergate and Pipergate attached to her name, and now is being investigated for corruption, serving her own private interests, obstruction of evidence because she allegedly deleted the text, and the commission is also refusing to give insights on the deal that she personally, on her own, made with the CEO of Pfizer. The fact, for example, that we don't even know how Piper was elected, there's no transparency, but it also really makes you doubt the legitimacy of the choices that she's making. And I think we should really ask ourselves, do we want a woman from Ursula von der Leyen that doesn't respect transparency, that doesn't respect the basic principles of democracy, to serve a second term as the president of the European Commission?
Thank you, Peter Klepper, and thank you, Scarlett Karolieva, for being a part of this week's Riks Roundup.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching Riks Europe.